Hello and welcome to episode 7 of the HamCorp training manual. In this episode, we set up some basic circuit crafting infrastructure, build Ham Tower and the control tower, and finally set up the initial AE2 network with storage and a P2P subnet. I just made the MV centrifuge and electrolyzer, and I moved the void extractor setup along with the lubricant and drilling fluid setup. So it's all in the ore generation area now. There's also a whole wall of drawers here. I need to clean this up. I need to standardize my approach over here. I'll probably do that once I have AE2. What I have here is, finally, the raw ore slurry and rare ore residue that I get from void excavation is now being processed. So the rare ore residue gets turned into more raw ore slurry, and I get a couple of sludge dusts, including vanadium magnetite, which is relevant right now. And the raw ore slurry gets turned into a bunch of different ores. So I have a few new ores now. I also have molten ore mixture and mixed mineral residue. These can't be processed yet. They need HV machines, so they're just going to sit in the super tanks and wait for a little bit. For now, I am going to take the vanadium magnetite sludge dust, centrifuge it to get vanadium magnetite and rare metallic residue. The rare metallic residue can be electrolyzed into calcite and silver, so that's cool. But I'm really after the vanadium magnetite, so that I can get vanadium, so that I can make vanadium steel for the advanced cutter. And then I can do circuit stuff. Also need to make some laser engravers. A couple hours later, I've made 5 laser engravers. And this is just a start. I did 5 because there's a quest here on the line of progression page with a bunch of basic chips, and there are 6 types of chips, but one of them needs HV and a clean room to cut, so I'm not going to be making that one. The other 5 are what the 5 laser engravers are going to do. And the lenses I need are cyan, light blue, blue, red, and green. So cool. While I make those lenses, I'm also going to make the advanced cutter. This does need an MV mixer because the vanadium steel dust needs an MV mixer. So that's also getting added to this line. Cutter in place. Silicon boules going in. I also had to make an MV lathe to make the glass lenses. And making these colored glass lenses is kind of annoying because I need to make... Hey, wait a minute. This is HV. I can't even do this yet. I've made one more engraver than I needed. I suppose the custom, not custom, but like the manually dyed lenses are HV, so that one's not happening, I suppose. The light blue, blue, red, and green ones all have gems that I can lathe, like sapphire, diamond, ruby, emerald, so I guess these are the only 4 I can do right now. Well, I guess that frees up a spot over here. Anyway, here's some silicon wafers. ILC wafers, RAM wafers, ultra low power IC wafers, and CPU wafers. Cool. Now I gotta cut them all. Now while my chips are cutting, it's gonna take a while, so I'm gonna spend some time building. I'm gonna start with the tower. Pause. I need to show you this. This is way too cool. So right-clicking to place the bit onto the frame block is really annoying. So what I've done is I've rebound my place block to space. So I fly up and I right-click effectively at the same time. And I just hold one button. Oh, look at that. This is pretty cool. Couple of things though. This is still very much a work in progress. There's like no decoration on it, except for the name. I also did not really want to use these blocks exactly. The matte ori blocks. There's a glowing version, but that needs ink sacs first. So I just need to make like a pool of water and hope some squid spawn, because I need ink sacs. After that, this is gonna really pop, I think. And I don't need these lights here to make it light up. I think the lights don't really look that good in this case, so I'm probably gonna get rid of them, but this was just to give me an idea of what it's gonna look like in the future, and this is pretty good. I need some windows, I need some more decoration, and I'm probably gonna use the borderless lamps from Greg Tech. They are a little pricey though. Well, not pricey, it's just it needs some infrastructure because I need to make red dye and stuff. I think that's gonna come after AE2. But hey, the tower's back. I also built a quick little control tower. It's a little cute little thing. It needs a lot of decoration, a bit of life. But yeah, those Greg Tech lamps, they are still a little bit away. This is where my AE2 stuff is gonna go, well, the terminals at least. I think all the main actual AE2 stuff, like the controller and stuff, is all going to go at the base of Ham Tower. In the meantime, the cutting machine is done, which means I have all of these chips to use, which also means I have a new tier of LV circuit unlocked. This is cheaper, this is gonna be better. I'm gonna be making these. That also unlocks the good integrated circuit, the second tier of MV circuit, also a bit cheaper, so that's great. And finally, it unlocks the first HV circuit. Ooh, except I need transistors, and transistors need silicon. Silicon is also going to be used for applied energistics, so it is going to be very important. To make silicon, I'm gonna need Canthal, and to make Canthal, I'm going to need an MV energy hatch. Well, I'm gonna need at least 2 MV energy hatches, and I am going to make 8. And they are all going to go right here on these EBFs. So I'm gonna have 4 HV EBFs, because they're each gonna have 2 MV energy hatches. That is more power than I produce. If you remember, I make 2 amps of HV right now, so this might need to be expanded as well. And in order to keep up with the increased fuel consumption, I would have to scale this up, but there's not really space. So instead, I can finally get around to processing all this bioshaft that's just been sitting here and getting voided. So that gets processed into more ethanol, which means more biodiesel. And I think it's going to be able to keep up, but I haven't done the math. It'll be fine. You don't lose stuff when you power fail anyway, so it doesn't matter. MV Energy Hatch is a pretty simple thing to make. It just needs medium voltage coils, which is aluminum and magnetic steel in an MV assembler, copper cable, MV machine hull, and ultra low power ICs. These I now have, and I have quite a few. So I'm gonna make my MV Energy Hatch. I'm gonna get to blasting some Canthal, which is made of iron, aluminum, and chrome. This does get me hot ingots, which need to be cooled, and I can't make the vacuum freezer just yet, so it's gonna have to be in a chem bath with some water. Specifically an MV chem bath, so I need to make one of those. Yeah, MV is a pretty short age, but cool. I'll be back with a super duper upgraded EBF. It's gonna be great. And then we start on applied energistics. Yeah, as predicted, the power draw has gone up a lot because of the EBFs. I even upgraded these flux cells to MV high flux RF coil kits, so it's 14 times the RF transfer and 6 times the capacity. And just fundamentally, it's not going to keep up because I'm not making power fast enough to power it. Which means I need more diesel gens. And I need a lot more generator coils. I've been told that the max length of this is 8, so I'll extend this out to 8, and I might have to make a second one at this pace. This thing is really loud though, it's kind of obnoxious, but I love it. I really do. It's so good. Well, I guess I'm gonna have to pause my Canthal blasting because this is just gonna keep flickering like this, so I guess this can be paused. Alright, while the Canthal is cooking and cooling, I'm gonna work on something else. I'm gonna work on setting up certus crystal. Now, from what I can see, there are 2 ways to do this, and I'm probably gonna set up both just for fun. One of them is from quartz sand. This is basically sand, remember? So I make sand, I grind it into quartz sand, and then I centrifuge it for a 20% chance of certus quartz dust, which I can autoclave with distilled water to make certus quartz. It is very slow though. The other option is, I think, marginally better. So using a rock filtrator to get my hands on certus quartz geodes. This needed an MV energy hatch, so this is why I haven't been doing it so far, but now I am. These geodes get cut into raw certus quartz, which get processed through normal ore processing and sifting to get certus quartz crystals. I might do a bit of math to see what's faster. That might be fun. But regardless, whatever option I choose, I know that it's going to have to be passive because I'm going to need so much certus quartz crystal. This is used all over the place. It's used for making fluix crystal, which is used for fluix dust, which is used all over the place in AE2. A little bit of math later, I found that certus quartz geodes are not the best way to get certus. It's actually the quartz sand method. There's a couple of simplifications I did though. I basically just looked at the total EU cost to make one gem, and it's much higher with this. And so for the same amount of power put into the system, the quartz sand is going to be faster. But of course you don't get all of these other gems, which I'm sure I'm gonna need. So I'm probably still gonna do the rock filtrator method anyway, just so I can get all those byproducts. But if you're specifically targeting certus and you don't care about the other stuff, I think the quartz sand is faster up to a point. There is of course the upper limit of the crushing wheels. I mean, I guess you could spam more crushing wheels, but TPS or something. Greg machines like scaling a lot more than Create does, that's for sure. So I'm gonna make a ton of these actually, a lot of rock filtrators because these are really slow, really slow. I'm also gonna have to set up more distilleries. This is currently my only source of distilled water. It's not very fast, I need more. But cool, I'll get my hands on some certus. Also, skystone dust. Skystone dust is made in a mixer with pretty easy to get materials. Ender pearls, stone dust, glowstone dust, and redstone. I'm gonna need a lot of this stuff too. Coils are done. Always feels good to get your first Canthal. For once, I wasn't just sitting around and waiting, I was doing other stuff. So, I have my certus quartz. Not a lot, but enough to get started. And I have skystone dust. This is still going. Now with all of this, I can make some inscriber presses and also some silicon ingots. The presses are going to need one of each of these dusts and also double skysteel plates. What the hell is skysteel? Something that needs to be blasted. Nothing too crazy though, just a mix of skystone dust and steel dust. I have noticed, by the way, that a lot of recipes seem to use nitrogen. So I should set up the basic gas collector to collect air and then centrifuge it to make nitrogen. And then any excess oxygen I'm going to void. I'm also going to need an MV forming press. This should be pretty easy to make. Hey, what do you think of this recipe? Skystone passived in a rock breaker? That's pretty good. It just needs resonant ender, which I can get very easily. It's just fluid extracted ender pearls. So, I probably shouldn't have made 2 stacks of skystone dust in a mixer. Oh well, I can still use it. Also made a bunch of quartz fiber. Just needs another quartz. And there's quite a bit that has been unlocked on the Applied Energistics page. I'm gonna make some fluix as well. This is another mixer recipe. Pretty chill. Needs charged certus quartz crystal, which is just polarized certus quartz crystal. But this is new to me, an ME assembler. This is just another type of assembler that has its own recipe map, I guess. And it's for making AE2 components. And it seems like it's the only way to make AE2 components. I support this fully. GregTech is the best. There's also a couple of these skystone alloys that I need to make. Each one is basically liquid skystone and some dust. Liquid skystone is just extracted skystone, so I should definitely passive this with the macerator and the rock breaker setup. So I'll do that in a sec. The silicon is done too, so that's great. And this means I can make transistors and HV circuits, but before I get distracted doing that, I do want to set up some AE2. So I'm going to make these inscribers now. Now here's the nice thing about these presses. I can put them all in the same forming press and there are no conflicts. Because each one can only process one type of plate. So it's totally safe to do this. Progress update. I have an ME controller, or 4. 2 ME drives, a bunch of processors that I'm about to use. Things I still need to do is set up my whole subnet. I don't know where I'm going to put the brain for that, probably in HamTower. Also set up my auto crafting, for which I need to craft storage, and also my storage itself, the stuff that goes in the drives. And I think I'm going to start off with the 16K, or a bunch of 16Ks, because, why not? It's nice. But it's going to be quite a few logic processors because it's recursive. It needs the 4Ks, which need the 1Ks, which need logic processors. So it's a lot of logic processors. Besides that, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the crafting storage will probably also be 16K. I don't know what else I need to make right now. Probably some export buses. the P2P tunnels, of course. There's also wireless. I don't know how forgiving the energy cost is in this pack. I guess we'll see. But yeah, I'll be back when it's time to set up the P2P subnet. It's gonna take a while to craft all the AE parts. So in the meantime, I've set up a couple of rock filtrators, and here's something cool about them. All the recipes here use half an amp or less of their respective tier. For example, the base LV recipes use half an amp of LV. The base MV recipes use a little less than half an amp of MV. And that means you can quad share a single energy hatch. It doesn't matter if things are overclocked or not because everything's just multiplied. Because an energy hatch can accept 2 amps of power, if each machine is using half an amp or less, then one energy hatch can supply power for 4 machines. And that's what's happening here. I've also set up a dedicated water distillery over here. This is not fast enough. I probably need more. But now I am going to be generating all of the different geodes in these 2 rock filtrators, or these 8 rock filtrators. And yeah, these AE parts are going to take a long time to finish. Here I am with the ME system. This took a while to set up. I do have channels on, like I mentioned before, and therefore I need this whole P2P subnet to carry my channels around the base. Hey look, it's an employee. Get back to work. So first let me show you how I'm powering this. Over here in the diesel building, which is very noisy, I have my energy acceptor directly touching the carbon brushes, so that it's the first thing that gets powered. We always want AE2 to be powered, so this is right up here. It is connected to a cable. I made a travel staff, by the way, so I can blink through blocks, but that cable goes underneath and goes all the way around the base, and this is part of my subnet. This is not going to have anything on it except the energy connector and P2P connections. And the controller of this subnet is this one. So this connects to the main controller, this is the main net, and it's touching it using P2P tunnels. There's also a quartz fiber cable so that I can power the main net through the subnet. This doesn't allow channels through it, but it does allow power. And the purpose of this subnet is purely to transport the channels around the base. So channels from the main net enter this P2P, and then they get teleported to wherever the opposite end of this P2P is. P2Ps themselves are devices, and therefore they need channels, and that's why we have a subnet in the first place. So I have 2 P2Ps here, and I'm going to have both of them go to my control tower. To link them, I have an advanced memory card. I'm actually going to take this one off really quick so that it's easy for me to identify things, but this advanced memory card I'm going to use to right-click this input P2P tunnel. Make sure I'm on bind to output mode and then select one of the 2 other P2Ps that I've placed. I know that both of them are in the tower, so it doesn't matter which one I pick. There. I said there. Hello? Oh, a little bit buggy. If I close and open the interface, it updates. Okay, that's fine. So this is linked. If I reintroduce this other P2P, I can link this one as well to this. This is the other one that's unbound. Now I've also made the network analyzer. This is nice for visualizing the network. So everything that's highlighted right now is my P2P subnet. So that's where the power is accepted. Cable goes all the way here from underground, comes up here, takes in my my inputs, spits them out at the outputs over there. And if I look at the main net, it's teleported like this. So now I can tell that this right side one goes to the upstairs, and then this left side one goes to the downstairs. So I'm actually going to name these as well. And I can do that with the advanced memory card. I'm going to name this control tower up 0. That automatically, or it's supposed to automatically rename the output side as well, but I'll do it by hand. And the other one I'll name control tower down 0. Cool, so this will help me keep track of things. This is going to be very, very handy in the future. And speaking of the control tower, let me show you what I have in here. I have some auto crafting stuff. I have some crafting storage. It's not connected right now, but we can do that together. And I also have my first molecular assembler, something like this. And I'm just going to connect all of these up, bring the cable around like this. I need to make some cable anchors, or I need some way to paint these cables so that these 2 cables don't connect. We don't want these to connect. This is the subnet, remember, and this is the main net. I really should paint them so that's more obvious, but whatever. And now I have my assembler, and I have 4 crafting CPUs. So if I go up here to my control station, I'm going to decorate this, don't worry. If I go to my crafting terminal, well, I don't have any patterns, but I would be able to request things now. I've also made a pattern encoding terminal. This is where my blank patterns go. These are kind of expensive, by the way. Diamond Skystone Alloy, I need to passive that. Anyway, I can encode patterns in here. There's different types. There's even smithing table and stone cutting patterns, which I've never seen before. But yeah, this is where I encode my patterns, and then they go into pattern providers, not interfaces. But I haven't made any of those yet. Here I have a pattern access terminal. I think this is like remotely accessing all of my pattern providers, but I don't have any, so it's empty. And finally, I've made a requester terminal. I don't have any ME requesters yet, but I'm sure I will. This is kind of like level maintaining. So I can set a certain item to be kept in stock at a certain amount, and everything will autocraft so that I have that amount in storage at all times. Speaking of storage, here's my storage. 10 16K item storage cells on this drive, 6 in this, along with 4 fluid storage cells. The fluid storage cells here can hold 18 types of fluid. That's plenty for now. So I gotta migrate my storage over here. I don't want to use the chest anymore. It's funny, but this is just better. This is just better. So I will be doing that. Oh, also here's a cell workbench. If I want, I can put a cell in here and filter it so that only certain items are allowed to go in. This will be useful later, but I'm not going to be using it just yet. So cool, we have AE2. I do have to wire a lot of things. I need to bring a P2P connection over to autocrafting so I can start patterning stuff. I need to bring one to the EBF place. I got a lot to do. Thank you for watching this episode of the HamCorp Training Manual. In the next episode, we will migrate our storage into AE2, hook up all the machines with autocrafting, and refactor most of the base to be more AE2 friendly. If I continue at this pace, by the way, at some point soon, the training manuals will have to take a short break, like a week or two. I don't want to progress too much before the upcoming major version of the mod pack because I don't want to have to do double work, but we'll see how it goes. See you next time.